welcome to the Fredonia Central School Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. We start each meeting with a pledge to the flag, so if you please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so tonight we have an addendum that I think we all received this afternoon, we need to add that in. We also need to approve the agenda for the regular meeting of December 9, 2025, with consent that includes all the personnel but excludes B1, and consent that includes all new business. So could I have a motion to bring that to the table?
So moved.
Ms. Gullo and Mr. Marshall, a second. Thank you. Anybody like anything pulled, including the addendum? All good with that? All in favor then?
Aye.
Opposed? So we have our first reading our first hearing from the public. The board has reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give your name and address, and limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. Concerns on this first session, we do have a session at the end also. Concerns and comments during this first session should be directly related to items that are listed on the proposed agenda for tonight's meeting. So does anybody like to speak publicly to the agenda tonight? Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Michelle Greeno. I live at 7849 Plank Road in Cherry Creek, and I am the president of the Fredonia Teachers Association. Please excuse the cough drop. I wouldn't get through this without it. The FTA would like to speak to you tonight regarding the executive session agenda item for personnel matters, specifically about appropriate staffing for related service providers. It's clear from our meetings over the past year and a half that our related service providers, that includes speech pathologists, occupational therapists, and physical therapists, are being pushed to the breaking point by understaffing in this unit. The FTA supports an immediate hire of a full-time speech pathologist. Additionally, our CODA's schedule will be completely full as soon as a pending student shift takes place, which will leave time for only one newly classified student to receive occupational therapy from any provider on staff. New classifications with therapy needs happen every month, and new students with needs move into the district all the time. Physical therapy services are also at the max, with teachers being asked to be flexible and creative with scheduling, resulting in student services done more in group sessions over individual sessions. These numbers need to be very closely monitored so the district can be proactive in hiring for OT and PT in the near future as well. If we want students to exit services and make meaningful progress, they need adequate clinician time. Additional related service providers improve student outcomes and reduce long-term special education costs. When RSPs are overextended, evaluations are delayed, IEP updates take longer, teachers wait for consultation, and referrals backlog, creating a system-wide friction. Even more concerning is the wait list of students needing these mandated services who can't be seen with the current shortage of speech pathologists. We've already implemented the most efficient service delivery model available. There's no remaining flexibility to exploit without reducing service quality or compromising compliance. The current workload is unsustainable and very taxing on our providers. Increasing special education student numbers over the past 5 years have resulted in the hiring of additional special education teachers, but the district has been relying on RSPs to absorb this growth indefinitely. Staff are experiencing burnout just 15 weeks into the year, which means that hiring is also a protective measure to sustain the workforce we do have. Without more staff, we face compliance and financial risks. Hiring additional RSPs will improve student outcomes and reduce long-term costs. Expect neighboring districts to poach our RSPs unless we fix workload expectations with appropriate staffing and caseload management. I would like to thank Ms. Farrow and Dr. Ziliox for their work on this issue, and for their willingness to meet with our providers and hear their concerns. We hope the board will give their full attention to the information presented within executive session and act quickly for the sake of our students. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Guido. If you could leave your statement or email us, because sometimes I hear about 30%, or I hear more than that, but it's good for us to reflect. So if you could pass it on to us, we appreciate that. Any other public comment related to the agenda? If not, thank you, Ms. Greenhow, for your comments. We'll move on. And our next order of business is to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of November 18th, 2000. Is it 18th? 18th, 2025. Have a motion to bring that to the table?
So moved.
Ms. Hahn, a second?
Second?
Mr. Martin, sorry. Any questions on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We also need to approve the minutes from the audit meeting of December 3rd, 2025. Can I have a motion to bring that to the table?
So moved.
Ms. Wharton, a second?
Second?
Ms. Gullo, thank you. Any questions on that? I'm sorry?
It was Mr. Kinney.
Oh, Mr. Kinney, sorry.
He's on the other side tonight. He's on my
Sorry,
side.
Mr.
He's
Kinney.
throwing
You're
his
over
voice.
there. Okay. I'm gonna get going here. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So next we have a special presentation of Leader in Me by Ms. Catherine Fortna and Mr. Meshwan Arif. So Dr. Ziliaks?
Yeah, I'll do a quick intro. Thanks. Is anybody else joining us tonight, or? You guys right up front. I'm going to let you guys all introduce yourself during the presentation, but thank you as well. You know, for a long time in the district, we talked a little bit about, you know, beyond the academics that are taught in the classroom, or within those, what are the skills our students are leaving our district with at the end of their pre-K-12 experience. And you know, there was a lot of great things going on, but maybe nothing that really unified those efforts. And in a response to that question, at some point the suggestion was, what if all of our students and adults at the time they exited Fredonia were aware of and used and incorporated the 7 habits into their work life as well as perhaps their personal life. And everybody agreed that would be a good thing and a positive direction to move, and people would most likely be more efficient and more in tune with a lot of different ways to just maximize our potential and eventually become our greatest selves. So at the beginning of this school year, our students were nice enough to start off at least the high school and the middle school faculty meetings with a presentation on the 7 habits. And this is a version of that tonight. Again, thank you to everybody involved, advisors, students. We appreciate you being here and are interested to learn a little bit more about the 7 habits tonight. So having said that,
Awesome, thank you.
you guys are on. Move it out of your way.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Landon, this is Rosemary, that's Neshwan, and that's Catherine. And we're going to present to you the 7 habits and Leader in Me, empowering students to see the vision, be the change. Who we are is more important than who we appear to be. Dr. Stephen R. Covey.
The first habit is to be proactive. We are not in control of what happens to us, but we are in control of how we react. The freedom to choose how we respond is at the core of being proactive. The key paradigm, I am responsible for my own happiness. Imagine shaking a bottle of Coke versus water. The Coke explodes, whereas the water shows how staying calm, collected, and optimistic allows us to remain our best even when in a stressful situation. We want to switch from reactive language to proactive language. Instead of saying, I can't, I can. Instead of saying, it's not my fault, say, I'm sorry. Instead of saying, I have to, it's I choose to. Having this vision for what you're doing allows you to, in your own mind and outwardly, have a more optimistic outlook. Now, at least the board and anyone else who wants to, if you can stand, if you're able to. Each of our habits have a little action to go along with them.
I feel like this is for everybody. Come on, let's join in.
So we can demonstrate, and then if you guys want to come in with us, it goes like this. I'm in charge of me. I'm in charge of me. Yeah, good job.
Having a vision for what we want to do gives our actions direction and our results meaning. The key paradigm, I define my life's vision and purpose and live by it. Activity. Imagine your 80th birthday party. What would you want the people who have been closest to you in your life to say about the impact you've made with your life? Beginning with the end in mind also applies to smaller scale projects, even this presentation. What's your vision for our school this year? What would you like to see in your students? Consider this as we continue through our presentation. So those who are able to, if you could stand again, this is our, so we begin with the end in mind. So we begin with the end in mind.
Our third habit is putting first things first. And the idea with this is to think of your tasks, work, and obligations as rocks, pebbles, or sand. So you have to imagine your day is like a bucket with just enough space in it. And so you have to figure out how you would work to fit everything in. And the idea with this is to start with the big rocks first, or the problems that are most immediate in the situation. So thinking of your big rocks in the day might be a pressing deadline, or an immediate crisis on hand. And the idea is to plan out your week with what your biggest priorities are for this week. And so to demonstrate this, we have a little Punnett square on the right that is divided into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is what's urgent and important. That is what you do. Quadrant 2 is what is not urgent but still important. That is what you plan. Quadrant 3 is what is urgent but not important. That is what you delegate. And then quadrant 4 is something that is not urgent and not important. Anything trivial, you eliminate. And the idea is to stay true in the moment of choice and trying to focus on the uses of time that fall into important but not urgent. Try to avoid activities that are unimportant. And so, those who are able to, we also ask you to stand up again. And for this next exercise, the idea is to focus on putting first things first. So you start with the first things first.
First things first.
Habit 4, think win-win. There are 4 types of interactions: win-win, win-lose, lose-win, and lose-lose. In the long run, the only way to make sure we can continually improve is by seeking win-win solutions. Key paradigm: there's more than enough for everyone. Think of everyone as having an emotional bank account. A win for someone else is a win for you too. Know the person's emotional currency. Consider what brings you joy. What about someone else? Be sincere and consistent. Close relationships require more deposits. Make small deposits over time to try to avoid withdrawals. The emotional bank account. Deposits. Seek first to understand the other person. Show kindness, courtesy, and respect. Make and keep promises by be loyal to others. Withdrawals. Assuming you understand. Showing unkindness, discourtesy, and disrespect. Breaking and not making promises. Being disloyal and bad-mouthing others. Alright, for this one, please stand up. Alright, it's gonna be a think, win, win. Think, win, win.
Habit 5 is seeking first to understand, then to be understood. I need to make sure people understand my point of view is the main view people have when issues or disagreements come up. Yet, seeking to understand and listen empathetically gives us more credibility while allowing everyone to feel understood. The key paradigm, I have more influence when I listen first. Empathetic listening is 90% the intent to understand and 10% your response. Think about reflecting the feelings of the other person in your own words while giving any insight that is relevant. Then, try making your own point of view seen and heard. Try listening actively and giving your response when appropriate. Relate to who is speaking or show that you understand. And when you give out seeking first to understand, then to be understood, you will have that same come back to you in conversations, and you will be understood better as well. Okay, if you could stand up. Okay, this one is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Synergize. Compromise is a word that people often use, yet it is not necessarily the most productive way to find a solution that works. Key paradigm. Let's come up with a better way together. Synergy is all about valuing instead of just tolerating or rejecting our differences, and using that to seek third alternatives that are a win-win for everyone. Synergy is also about creating win-win solutions and empathetic listening. These solutions together, alongside a willingness to understand and an intent to listen, are key to creating synergy. So, those who can stand one more time. So, it takes two people to come together and synergize. It takes two people to come together and synergize.
And our seventh and last daily habit for highly effective people is sharpening the saw. Sharpening the saw is about investing our time and energy into something that makes ourselves better. The key paradigm here, I take time for myself every day because it gives me the ability to do something else, everything else. And the main idea with this is, in spite of everything else, to also remember to take care of yourself. And trying to take care of yourself every day with something that nourishes your body, mind, heart, or spirit. And so, well, and for our last motion, we'd like to say, sharpen the saw. So, sharpen the saw.
Sharpen the saw. The See, Do, Get cycle is the entire idea of Leader in Me and the 7 habits together. The See is our paradigms, what we imagine for the future. The Do is our practices, and the Get is our results. When this is put into the Leader in Me framework, we have the different paradigms of leadership, potential, change, motivation, and education. And we use each of those to positively impact the school in leadership, culture, and academics. Everything we work together on and all our projects are individual to each of these 3 categories, and then the results of that hopefully positively impact our school either through the leadership, the culture, or the academics.
Thank you.
questions from board members at all, or? No? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
No, thank you for that. There's a lot of positives that come out of this. One is, it's so fantastic to see our ex officio members and other members coming in and providing input to the board. It just kind of enlivens the room. So we really appreciate that. A lot of good ideas come from the students, and also just the Leader in Me seems like such a great program. I mean, being an ex-teacher myself, professional development was always a bit scattershot in my years at different schools, and it feels like you have a plan here with Leader in Me. Like, it wasn't the first year just to plan with, and train teachers and train the student leaders. Would that be accurate?
Mhm.
Yeah. And now this is year 2, and now you're implementing to the student body, so maybe we could hear even more from the two of you, how it's going, you know, as the year progresses and the next year. So again, thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. So next on our to-do list is our financial treasurer's report. Not quite as exciting as that. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I'm not doing very well tonight. Could you fill us in on the budget, investment, and revenue reports?
We'll do those 3 together off the dashboard. Made a few changes on the expenditure side, mostly in BOCES services and in the benefits. Employee retirement and teachers retirement system final billing came in slightly above what we budgeted. So we're not tracking good there. We're spending a little more in those categories. But on the revenue side, we continue to make progress with the investments in the treasury bills, although the rates continue to drop, and there's a meeting of the feds tomorrow, which they're anticipating will further reduce that. So we're trying to keep the numbers up there. Other than that, we took in $84,000 of lottery aid, and we did book in the October, since this is the October report you're seeing today, the October portion of the teacher's retirement system, which is both booked as an expense and a revenue. Other than that, I don't have anything on any of those categories.
Okay, great. Any further questions from the board on those reports? So we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Could I have a motion to bring that to the table? I promise to listen more carefully.
So moved.
Ms. Gallo, the second?
Second.
Mr. Marshall, I heard you first. Any questions, or, I'm sorry, Mr. Forbes?
Nothing on that report.
Nothing on that? No questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have an external audit report presentation from Laura Napoli. Could I have a motion to bring that to the table?
So moved.
Mr. Martin, second?
Second.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kinney, did you say it the same time? Mr. Martin, Mr. Kinney, okay, you're too far away. Dr. Ziliaks.
Oh yeah, as many of you probably know, each year we're required to have an external audit, and Ms. Napoli is nice enough to come in and help us with that each year, and she's here to just share the results of the audit. And in my mind, the initial purpose of the audit is really to make sure that we are in line with all standard practices and good business practices, and the hope is that we have a clean audit, which is the first really focus and priority for us as superintendent, administrators, Board of Education. So we're interested to hear what you have to say.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. This year I did a little PowerPoint summary just to kind of keep us on track and make sure that I go over all the highlights. So if you could go to the next page. So as Mr. Ziliak said, the first goal is the independent auditor's report of the basic financial statements. We issue that audit report each year. There are government-wide financial statements, which we'll go over, fund financial statements. We have a report on internal controls. We have a management letter. This year, due to the federal government shutdown, we actually have 2 reports for you. It's the same report that we issue every year. But we have to have it in 2 sections this year, the government-wide financials, the basic financial statements, and the single audit report in a separate report. They didn't issue an audit compliance supplement until after we had already issued the audit report, so we couldn't do the single audit, and we'll go over what the single audit is as we go forward. And then we are required to make audit communications to your audit committee and the board. And that's part of tonight. And you guys approved the minutes of the December 3rd audit committee meeting where we went over the audit in great detail. You go to the next slide. So we issue our independent auditor's report. We did issue an unmodified opinion. It is the best opinion that you can get. It states that the financial statements are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So like Dr. Ziliak said, your financial statements are in accordance with all the required GASB statements and other statements that are required to be. In this audit report, we did have a change. A new GASB was added, GASB 101 for compensated absences. So that just changed how you have to account for accumulated sick days that have not been paid out yet. So there's a new liability in your financial statements for that. That's only in the government-wide financial statements. It's not in your fund financial statements. The fund financial statements are the ones that you use for everyday management and budgeting. This GASB only applies to the full accrual financial statements. You can go to the next slide. So the government-wide financial statements, those are on, they're on pages 20 and 21. These are your full accrual financial statements. They include all the receivables, all the payables of the government. They also include all fixed assets and long-term debt. You don't have those in your regular financial statements. And again, these are required to be full accrual by the GASB and you have to present them. But what we're gonna focus on today is more information from the fund financials. So go to the next slide. Your fund financial statements are presented on a modified accrual, so we don't have all the receivables, payables, long-term debt, fixed assets included. But these are the statements that you use in everyday management of the district and also to prepare your district's annual budget. Those financial statements follow the government-wide ones. They're on pages 22 and 25 in your audit reports. One of the things that I'd like to highlight about your financial statements is what is your fund balance? Kind of one of the things that you guys need to take a look at regularly is, as you know, John stated, you're looking at your financials to figure out if your revenues are in line, if your expenditures are in line, and what does that do to your fund balance? Your fund balance is basically what money do you have left over to apply to next year's budget, what do you have in reserves, and what do you have that's unassigned. So you can see your restricted fund balance is about 1.6 million. Your assigned fund balance, restricted fund balance consists of reserves, and I have a slide later to show you what reserves you have in the district at the end of the year. Assigned fund balance is consists of two different amounts. One is the amount applied to next year to reduce the taxes. That is actually $750,000. Plus you have purchases that didn't complete in the 24-25 year that complete in 25-26. So those get carried over. That's the difference of that $37,558. You have unassigned fund balance of $887,950. Total fund balance $3.299 million. Okay, can you go to the next slide? So your undesignated, unappropriated fund balance is 2.32%. That's kind of low. Real property tax law allows for 4% of your next year's budget. So you're just over half. So one of our recommendations during the audit was that you guys look at ways to potentially increase that 4%. I said you had around $887,000 of undesignated fund balance. If you apply $750,000 of that again, like you did the year before, without revenues in excess of expenditures, that only allows for your 26-27 amount to reduce the taxes. So it's something that the district needs to be aware of and be looking at, because you know, I don't think you wanna look at a huge tax increase. So looking at what that fund balance is and trying to make sure you get to the legal limit, and then looking at potentially even increasing your reserve is something that the district needs to consider. If you could go to the next slide. So, from your fund financial statements, your operating fund is your general fund. These are your revenues compared to last year to see what the changes are. You can see your real property tax change is 3%. Other tax items is down a little bit, but that's just because of the STAR reimbursement rate changes every year. That's what's included there. The other change that is actually fairly large was your state aid went up from the prior year. That's a couple of things. Your BOCES aid increased because you had BOCES expenditures that were higher in the year before. Plus, the state is fully funding foundation aid, so you had an increase in your foundation aid as well. So those are good things, and if the state aid keeps increasing, hopefully that will help your revenue stay at a better rate than what your expenditures are. But it's definitely something to keep looking at on a regular basis. The next one shows the summary of your expenditures for the general fund. All of those expenditures went up some except for debt service. Your debt service is decreasing because you're paying off some of your debt. Your new capital project, though, is going to replace that debt, and that I anticipate will go up not until you start your capital project a little bit more rigorously, but right now it's lower and it will go back up. But you can see that all of your expenditures increase, transportation most especially. Obviously, transportation costs have, been going up with your contract for your transportation. So, just one more thing. Just at the very bottom, you can see the very net of your expenditures greater than your revenues of $391,000. So that took your fund balance down from last year. Okay, so your savings account went down. Thank you. So here shows your whole fund balance. It shows each reserve that you have and the change in the reserves. $70,000 of the capital reserve was moved over to your capital projects fund to cover some of the capital project. So you're going to be moving some money from your capital reserve, so that reserve will go down. The others didn't change very much. You can see again your appropriated fund balance of $750,000. That's what you're using to decrease taxes. That's what you need to have each year in your fund balance to apply to next year. Unappropriated fund balance at $887. You can see that went down from the prior year. The last report that we issued in your basic financial statements in the large booklet that we had was your internal control report over financial statements. We had a couple things that we mentioned to the district every year. We assist in preparing the financial statements and the notes to the financial statements, and we make some computer control recommendations in there. The management letter comments are other comments that we make to strengthen internal controls, and those were reviewed in depth with your audit committee. So the second booklet that you have that is much smaller is your single audit. Your school district is required to have a single audit because you expend more than $750,000 in federal funds each year. So that requires us to do a special audit called a single audit, where we take a look at what are the largest grants, and we have to determine what are the major programs based on a set of criteria in the compliance supplement that wasn't issued by the government until after the basic financials were finished. That's why you have two booklets. We tested the school lunch fund and we tested the ARP ESSER funds. And in that testing, we had no findings. So those all complied with the requirements of the grants. Lastly, we were required to communicate the results of our audit with the board and the audit committee. So the significant things that we had to communicate to you are the new accounting principle was GSB 101. We did have to restate the prior year fund balance due to that. So we had to take June 30, 24 and restate for the compensated absences that would have been outstanding in that year. We identified the significant estimates and disclosures in your financial statements. And we also request that management signed a representation letter saying that they've given us access to everything we've requested and given us everything that we needed to do the audit. That's my presentation for tonight. Does anybody have any questions? Yes?
I just wanted to comment real quick. First of all, on behalf of everybody, we want to thank everybody that, for their time, effort, and resulting in a clean audit. I feel like that's step one, and that's good news. I also feel like part of what you shared with us reiterates some of the things we've been discussing amongst the administrators, amongst the board, in public session prior to this, is both that we're aware our fund balance is lower than it once was. We're also aware of some concern around the reserves. It wasn't that long ago we were identified as being fiscally stressed through the controller's office because of that reduction in fund balance. So this kind of reiterates a lot of the conversations we've already been having and continue to have, and certainly this will be part of our prep and planning as we gear up for the budget season, which is pretty much underway at this point already. So thanks for sharing this information, and thanks for your work to make sure that we're doing everything that we need to be doing.
Yep.
So sorry if I interrupted the flow elsewhere.
Well, kind of jumping off from that, so you had said we should look at ways to increase our undesignated fund balance to 4% and increase our reserves.
Yep.
State aid, of course, we don't have any control over, so I'm seeking from you some ideas.
Well, one of the things that we've discussed is looking at departments. I mean, this is gonna be tough. It's not easy. You have a property tax cap, so you're limited in what you can raise in property taxes unless you go for a 60% vote, which is not going to be easy. Really increasing your revenues. John has done a really good job of investing, and that $887,000 that you have is really due to the interest income that you've been earning on your treasury bills right now. So that's one way to obviously increase your revenue. But as a district, we have a lot of ways to increase revenue other than property taxes, investing your money. So you have to look then at decreasing expenses.
We frequently ask our taxpayers for less than the maximum that we're allowed. What is your position on that?
Absolutely raise to the tax cap.
Could you repeat that?
I mean, we want the district to be fiscally sound. You're a large employer, you educate our students, we want to have all the programs. I mean, the presentation that you guys had tonight was excellent. And obviously that's a testament to all the work that everyone does here. And to keep the district fiscally sound is important to all of us. I'm a taxpayer too. So, all of it is important. And I'm not saying this is easy. And not easy. But raising to the tax cap, looking at expenditures at this point, because I don't know really how you're gonna raise revenues. It's not as easy as increasing prices if you are a for-profit.
Right. Any other questions from the board?
Just one, could you explain again that when you said the $750,000 that we have in the budget, and you said were you saying we need to keep that there?
Yes, so what happens is, you come up, when you do your budget, the basics of it is, you have revenues, you have expenditures. Your expenditures are gonna be more than your revenues, right? So the difference goes to property taxes. But you also can take some of your savings and use that to reduce the amount that you need to raise in property taxes. Right now, we're taking $750,000. At the end of June 30, 25, you had $887,000 left to say, okay, when we do our 26-27 budget, how much can I take of that fund balance to reduce taxes? we've been using 750,000. If you take 750 out of your 887, doesn't leave you very much for the following year. So that's why planning now is really important, so that we don't come up with an issue in your 27-28 budget.
Any other comments? Well, thank you, Mrs. Napoli. Very sobering comments. We have work to do in this upcoming budget cycle, it looks like, so thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on into personnel, we need to approve the, I'm sorry, we need to, yes, so all in favor? We have to approve it, right?
We've already got the motion.
Yeah, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we need to approve the appointment of William Wright to a probationary position in the tenure area of teaching assistant. A motion to bring that to the table.
So moved.
Is that Ms. Ford? A second?
Second.
Mr. Kinney, thank you. Dr. Ziliaks.
Oh yeah, Bill Wright is working with us at the middle school. He was an employee in the past, and we're glad to have him return. He is a retired teacher from Silver Creek, has a really good foundation of knowledge in literacy and also in academic intervention. And him working here prior, he did an outstanding job, and we're glad to have him back on board. And we look forward to all the positives he brings to the table. Ms. Paul Hemus wanted to echo that, although she's over at the concert tonight. And just mention that he's an all-around team player and just the overall positive person to have as part of the district. So, welcome back, Bill.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That takes us straight through personnel and also new business. So we get to our second round of public comment. The board is reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address. And please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less, and it can be on any general topic. Do I have any comments today? Yes. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, my name is Linda Shields. I live at 227 Seymour Street in Fredonia. This is my third time coming to the board. I'm asking you to consider consolidation. We look around the county and we see that Clymer, Sherman, and Panama are studying a merger. Bemis Point and Chautauqua Lake are sharing a superintendent. Fredonia has previously looked at merging without success. Perhaps people are more amenable to some sort of consolidation than in the past. People are financially struggling. More people are using services like local food pantries. I look at how many houses are for sale in Fredonia. I've never seen so many. Our population is shrinking, and yet we have 18 school districts in Chautauqua County. We have 2 BOCES sites that serve the entire county. Why can't we have 2 or 3 regional high schools? I have asked if you would poll the residents during the last vote for the budget. If people don't vote, they have no right to complain. During the next budget vote, let's poll the district to see if their opinions have changed. I will end with a quote from an opinion piece from the Observer. Quote, "For decades, this region has missed out on private investment. That is because government and school districts keep growing larger in terms of buildings and employment while the numbers they serve keep dwindling. Perhaps the county has been listening. The county is launching a government reduction initiative to include schools. They will award $100,000 a year for schools or government entities that will look at consolidation or mergers. My hope is that you will give this serious consideration. We live in this beautiful community in Chautauqua County. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, but we need to come together, share our resources for the greater good. Thank you."
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. And if you could please leave your statement with Ms. Morrison, our district clerk, we'd appreciate that. Thank you. I'll take it. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else like to speak in public comment? If not, we'll move on to our superintendent's report. Dr. Zlordos.
Yeah, a couple items for tonight. Agenda back together here. There we go. Just wanted to recognize some individuals who are both leaving the district and joining the district who are in consent tonight. Each year we have a number of people resign for a variety of reasons, but we want to thank everybody for their service to the district and wish them good luck in their next steps. For tonight, we have Isabel Rodriguez, Teresa Priolet, Ryan Colt, Olivia Erbacher, as well as Jackie Monahan. Again, thank you for everything you've done for the district, and best of luck moving forward. Joining the district, a little more upbeat, we have Dylan Pierce coming on board as food service helper, so welcome to Dylan. We also have Yaretsi Alaya, who's coming on board as a cleaner. We welcome her as well. Peter Privatier is coming on board as a building maintenance mechanic 2, which is a little bit of a moment for our district. We have not been fully staffed in our maintenance department for quite some time, so Peter rounds out full staffing, so welcome to him, and thanks to everybody in the department for really doing a great job in this transitional phase. We also wanted to welcome Erica Liss, who is joining us as a teacher aide, so welcome to Erica. I also wanted to just briefly mention our winter sports are up and running. We have a basketball game going down a couple of hallways as of right now, so thanks to all our student athletes who are willing to be part of our teams and hopefully learn all kinds of great lessons from being part of our athletics program. Thanks also to all our coaches, both volunteer and paid, who are part of the winter season, and also to our AD, Nick Bertrando, who works hard to keep it all running. So best of luck to everybody. We also wanted to recognize we're also in concert season, as was mentioned earlier, and thanks to everybody who's part of our music program, part of our music department, students and adults. Thanks for everybody supporting our music program at home, and we look forward to those events here in the winter season. We also had a Board of Education Facilities meeting earlier tonight. We did review a variety of topics. We talked about the wrapping up of our lead testing water audit that occurred a few months ago. The last step in that was us creating a corrective action plan, which was submitted to the state. We actually followed all these steps in the 2025 testing, so these things are already in play and implemented. We were thankful to go through the process. We learned a lot and have improved our processes. Also, we talked a little bit about the capital improvement project, phase 1 and 2. This is from Proposition 1, and again, thanks to our community for supporting that part of the capital project proposals. That's roughly $2.1 million. We will be open for bids this coming Thursday for the phase 1 work, and eventually we'll be looking to approve those bids in January here at our board meeting, and then we will get a notice out to contractors to proceed shortly after mid-January, and construction should begin in the spring of 2026. Some of the highlights of that work are resurfacing the track, a lot of roof work at Wheelock, and also 2 playgrounds at Wheelock. So we look forward to getting this work up and running. Yep, down a hill, that's correct. Phase 2 will follow a similar process, just a little bit later on. We'll be getting all our documentation into state ed in the spring of 2026. Bids will be roughly a year from now, in the fall of 2026, and construction will start in the spring of 2027. So more information to come about that. We also talked about our outlay project that will be happening in the summer. That will include work on the softball field as well as some flooring here at the elementary school. We also reviewed our district-wide emergency phone project, which is concluding here shortly. All wiring work should be done by December 18th, and then over break they'll be installing phones. We are on schedule to be fully operational as of January 5 when we return from break, so we look forward to that. We also talked and then toured the areas that have been brought to the board for concerns in terms of accessibility. We visited our nurse's office at the elementary school, our chorus room, our science labs, our pool. Although we didn't go outside today, board members at some point over the last couple of weeks got a chance to go out and spend some time on our main campus playground. Although not part of the things that came forward, Young and Wright also suggested that we look at locker rooms and restrooms as well. And we toured those facilities. And basically what it comes down to is that there's a couple of different ways to go about getting work done in this area, either through a larger capital project that we're already engaged in. This would be an additional project sometime in the future. And also the $100,000 outlay projects that we do each year. So we are in the process of thinking about all of that. What would next steps look like? How do we continue to address the variety of needs we have in terms of facilities across the district and try to be as thoughtful, logical, and sequential in our thinking as possible. So more information there, but I wanted to make you aware that our facilities committee does meet 3 times a year, and this is an ongoing discussion about how we upgrade our facilities and what's the best path and approach to have that happen. Wanted to turn it over to Dr. Wright real briefly to just overview some of the literacy work that's happening in the district. And thank you for all your efforts and leading the charge. So,
I appreciate that, thank you.
Yep.
It's exciting to talk about literacy. These are the things I think when you're educators, you get all excited about being all nerdy about curriculum and everything else. So it's exciting. As you know, literacy is one of the priority areas in our district long-term plan. When we talk about literacy, it's important that we all have a shared definition so that we really understand what it is we're talking about. So literacy as defined in education has evolved from the ability to read and write to include listening, speaking, in order to effectively communicate and make sense of the world around us. The key to providing a sound literacy education is to have both horizontal and vertical alignment. By horizontal, we mean the shared practices, materials, assessments across a grade level. And by vertical, we mean aligning the continuum of education, UPK-12. That means that when children are experiencing it, they're experiencing a cohesive, from one grade to another, things that are familiar, things they know, so it isn't like to a student, new learning each time. Well, this year in UPK-4, we are committed to the All-In Literacy Initiative, which is a culmination of work over the past 4 years. To highlight this, curriculum councils, instructional leaders, and subcommittees focused on literacy and exploring current practices. We have to know where we are in order to know where we want to go. And then we have professional learning opportunities such as LETTERS training, which is an acronym for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. And for some members of our audience today, they participated in that, and they could tell you that was like a college course. So kudos to them for doing that. Also, we have members, part of the Erie to Chautauqua County BOCES Science of Reading Symposium, and the New Pulse Micro-Credentialing in Science of Reading. We have been exploring curriculums, and in doing so in subcommittees and in groups, we arrived on HMH into reading curriculum. So last year was a pilot of that curriculum, and it was a pilot in various levels. People could self-select. Did you want to dip your toe in? Did you want to wade in? Did you want to dive in? And this year we are all in. So that's where that comes from. Yes, I'm that corny. So to clarify the science of reading, right? There's a lot of buzz around that. The science of reading literally is the science of how the brain learns to read. That's all it is. It's not a curriculum. It's not an instructional practice. It's understanding the science behind that And when you know that, then imploring those things in the curriculums. HMH is grounded in the science of reading, as is letters, as is, the other thing I'm gonna talk about, which is the UFly curriculum. So the all-in plan is structured yet flexible. It allows for continuous feedback and adjustment. The goal is to establish a strong foundation for a school-wide reading program by setting clear targets, tracking progress, fostering collaborative dialogue within, horizontal, and across, vertical, UP4 grade bands. This includes weekly grade level meetings, quarterly curriculum goals with HMH into reading, sharing the good, the bad, the ugly, and focusing on phonics through UFly. Now, we have to give a shout out to first grade teachers. UFly was their recommendation. This is the University of Florida Literacy Institute. This is a specific, systematic daily lesson program that builds foundational skills in grades K-2. It uses grades 3-4, it can be used in grades 3-4, to support struggling readers. It ensures the critical foundational phonemes or sounds are solidified. Students have to have that phonemic awareness, that ability to recognize and manipulate sounds before they can truly be solid readers. For example, I'm sure everybody here knows there are 26 letters of the alphabet. There are 44 phonemes. So those 26 letters make 44 sounds. So it's making sure that we as practitioners, through new research, new science, new understanding, are aware of that so that we can then use these best practice resources in helping our students to learn. So we're excited that grade 5 has embraced UFly for their remedial support as well. This then allows students to go from kindergarten, the UFly program, into first grade, second grade, in a systematic thing they're used to, and then when those spots for students are struggling, they have that UFly to rely on for remediation. Again, a continuum of learning for students. So put together, this hits horizontal alignment, all grade level teachers are using HMH, and vertical alignment, a shared experience for students, and data that has meaning for cohorts. It's comparing apples to apples, as one teacher said to me today. It's also realistic. We realize that as we're all in, I don't want this to sound like everybody's like, woo, we understand that there are times and seasons of year, December, where your big rocks are gonna be, kids are excited, there's 3 weeks of school, there's snow, there's things. So we're going back to Leader in Me, and I appreciate the efforts of our students today. We have to look at our big rocks first and make sure we're focusing on those. And then know that each year we do this, as we go through it this year, that implementation dip, you start something new, you're all excited, and science shows us you get to that like, oh, this is scary, this is really hard, I want to give up. Keep pushing, keep pushing. That's why it's a collaborative effort. We have those weekly meetings to help reach down or get the boost that we might need. So a huge shout out to our teachers, because they're the ones putting this into practice each day. They're using the curriculum, they're using curriculum writing time to work together to ensure alignment, they're engaging in conversations, and they are seeing the growth in students. So we're really excited about it.
Anything else, Dr. Zilli?
Thanks for letting me read, because I know I've been talking forever.
All good. Just want to remind everybody of our social media, and still hanging in there on Facebook, although we do have a couple other platforms, but Facebook seems to get a lot of attention. Ms. Piper does a great job posting, Mr. Drollinger. Our district page is going well, middle school page is going well, so feel free to check it out and keep up to date as you're looking for information about the district. And that wraps it up, unless there's questions.
Any questions from the board? Thank you, Dr. Wright, Dr. Zilli, for the report. That was good. So we'll move on. We have our next thing is next regular Board of Education meeting will be held Tuesday, January 13th, 2026, I think I should say, right? At 6 p.m. in the high school library here. And is there any board correspondence tonight? Ms. Honda, did you attend a meeting in November?
I did. I attended the Erie to Chautauqua Cattaraugus BOCES Board of Education meeting on November 5th. And we, as, in case anyone doesn't remember, we take turns going to those meetings. Each of the board members goes. Jerry, I think you might be up tomorrow. And it's so interesting both substantively and procedurally. They had a representative from labor relations speak on educational law about protecting student, teacher, and administrator personally identifiable information. They honored two educators with tenure and did a little presentation for each, and they went around and had board members representing each of the different committees give a brief update on their committee's work, and the entire meeting was 20 minutes. It was awesome. So I followed up with their communications person just because I was curious how they run like a Swiss train station. And he said that when someone gives a presentation, most of the presenters work with the communications department to create their slide decks. And they're asked to focus their presentations on board goals, data points, and pertinent updates. So I just thought that was interesting. And they use board docs, which is something I know our board is considering using, and that's very, it was fun to go in and look up their documents on the board docs landing site. So just, very interesting. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Ms. Hahn. Yeah, board docs is certainly something we should consider. It makes things very efficient, which is fantastic. Thank you for volunteering your time, and all board members volunteer your time over the months. Take a meeting a month. So it's been really good last year, and it's excellent this year that we're doing that. We move into any other general comments from the board tonight. Thank you, Neshwa and Catherine, for the presentation. It's excellent to see, that input. And thank you to your team for putting that together with Leader and me tonight. We'll move on to Mr. Tonelli.
Sure.
Anything tonight?
Just want to publicly congratulate Claire McMurdy D'Amato and Grant Abbey for performing in the NISMA String Orchestra. We clapped them out this past weekend. They spent a couple of nights up in Rochester and were able to perform. It's the equivalent of making states basically for a sport. So congratulations to them. Our students participated in the polar plunge last week, Friday, on a very chilly day. Their goal was to raise $10,000 for that event, which they did succeed in doing, so that's fantastic for them. And super proud of them for doing that and for having the bravery to go into the lake. I think it was 8 degrees that morning, but it was sunny, that's all I heard. It was sunny, it felt good. So, okay. Another update for our student lighthouse team. So this is the group of 12 students and 4 faculty members that meet pretty regularly. They're pushing out surveys right now to the student body and to faculty members about a use of our high school courtyard. And not necessarily in the let 60 people go out there and in 2 days we have to shut it down because it gets too noisy for the classrooms. Being really smart and really thoughtful about some ways to be able to use that space, which is really nice and underutilized. And they're working really hard on finding some thoughtful and introspective ways to use that space in our building. So just a quick update from them. And from student council as well. They're involved in a number of student center activities. They meet every Wednesday. I try to stop up there as much as I can, but they run like a well-oiled machine, and I end up just kind of in awe and watching them. They held a turkey hunt for our students before Thanksgiving. They put paper turkeys around, and if you found one, you got to turn it in for a prize. They're working on Santa's workshop this weekend. That's where parents can come drop their students off and have our kids work with them for a while they go and do what they need to do. Holiday Spirit Week next week for our students, so we've got 5 dress-up days. I think there's a dress like a JCPenney's Christmas card day, which is kind of fun. It's bringing back old memories. And then when we get back from break, they transfer right into the winter ball dance in February that they'll start planning for. And I just wanted to mention one bigger shift at the high school this year. With me coming on board this year, looking specifically at scheduling for the 26-27 school year. I'm a proponent of the earlier the better. And I've asked my counselors to kind of think a little bit about that when we come back from, like right now in December, we're concentrating on semester 2, making sure we're ready to go for the second part of the school year. But as soon as we come back from winter break and hit January, I asked them to kind of shift their minds and to start to think about 26, 27. We'll start scheduling with students actually during exam week in January. So we'll use that time to do some of that work, and then January, February, March, really make sure all of our students are scheduled, and then start building our master schedule for the next school year, which seems like it's far away, but it comes much faster than you could ever imagine. So just a shift that we're getting used to here this year. And then I just wanted to mention that our high school winter concert is next Wednesday, so if you could attend that, it's a wonderful few hours with all of our music performance groups that night.
Thank you, Mr. Tonelli. A lot of proactive work and a lot of student-led initiatives.
Correct.
That's fantastic. Mr. Jolinger.
Yep, thanks. I want to thank the high school kids for the 7 habits. At the elementary school, we're really trying to live those. So I want to thank Sam Gambino for beginning with the end in mind. She started this year wanting to get creative with her class, to do as many field experiences that they could within reason. Busing's expensive and things like that. So she got creative and she reached out to the Chautauqua County Carts bus, and that service has been providing free transportation for her class. And today they went to Butterlow in downtown Fredonia, and they iced cookies, they churned some dough and things like that. And coincidentally, Mr. Santa Claus showed up too at the same time. It was kind of weird. So it was a nice little experience for the kids. And then I want to thank April Hartown for being proactive. She has her winter concerts this week, Thursday and Friday. We have a nice little ticket system because some of our concerts are during the school day. So it's just a way to kind of monitor the adults that are in and out of this building. And I want to thank the high school Food and Garden Club again for thinking win-win. Today they took locally sourced carrots and sweetened them up with honey and another little flavoring. And the second graders today had an opportunity to try this vegetable, and it was actually really good. And then lastly, I want to thank Ms. McAfee for synergizing with the most recent Balloons Over Broadway unit that I talked about. It went off with a hitch the day before we left for Thanksgiving break. And what I mean by synergizing is that it brought the staff together. We had the PE teachers helping monitor the halls. We had the RTI teachers working with the kids. We had the special areas doing the robotics for the parade. And then we had the classroom teachers, of course, doing the crafts and decorating the halls. And I want to thank John in advance for a little lenience. Our fire inspection is tomorrow and or Thursday, so blinders. So thank you to everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Dolger. Exciting activities at the leading up to Christmas. That's great. Ms. Farrell, $10,000 Polar Plunge. Fantastic.
Yeah, Mr. Tonelli commented that there were a total of 43 kids there. Mrs. Tomaszewski told me it was the best weather day they've ever had for it. I was not able to be there. It was during the school day, but I think by the time they were there, the temperature was in the 30s. It was calm and no wind, so water was a nice warm 42 degrees. I guess it went off really well. And Mr. Drollinger highlighted a lot of things which involve a lot of our special ed students. So I don't have a whole lot of news, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention Olivia Urbacher and Jackie Monahan, 2 members of our special ed team that have been short timers at Fredonia, I would say. Olivia's been here just a little over a year as clerk 2 in my office, and Jackie's been here just since the beginning of this year as a school psychologist. So in the short amount of time both of those ladies have been here, they've made a huge impact, and I'm very sad that they're moving on, but I wish them the best in their future endeavors.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Farrell.
You're
Ms. Piper, leading up to Christmas.
I don't know if you have any idea that it was reindeer day.
You got it.
It was.
Looking the part.
Right, it was very exciting, a very exciting time of the year. We're getting ready to celebrate the winter solstice. Big shout out to Alan Foley, who has created a big sign in our hallway to show us how much daylight and nighttime there is each day, and it's changing it so the kids are actually having a visual to see what that looks like. So we're looking forward to celebrating that next Friday with we always have our big pajama day that day. I do have to put a shout out and thank Mrs. Greena for mentioning the related services need. And as an educator for over 35 years, you're a chairperson for the preschool committee on special education. It is imperative that we have these services for our students. What we've seen this year with the addition of our SIS classroom has been remarkable. kids that are in our district, that we're getting reimbursed for the county for some of those services. I actually was talking to Ms. Wilson today about the declassification of some of those students, and it's only December, because they've been able to get those services at a young age. And I know that it costs money on that end of it. We do get a lot of that money reimbursed by the county, but the payoffs are huge. If you look at any research, looking at providing early intervention for services, closing that gap for kids that are having speech issues, fine motor issues, gross motor issues, when they're 2, 3, 4 years old, versus waiting, not providing those services until they're 7, 8, 9, 10, it potentially exponentially increases the costs, the needs, and whatnot. So again, a shout out to Michelle and for our staff. I am a huge proponent, as you all know, of early intervention because it works. And so thank you for that. And I thank the board for supporting the SIS classroom. I'm actually hoping to grow that program, providing more supportive services for our students because it works. And then hopefully down the road, they don't need as many special ed services or support services. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Mrs. Farrell.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Piper. We'll certainly have rigorous discussion about it, so thank you. Dr. Wright.
Couple shout outs. I'm sure Dr. Zilios will talk more about Wednesday evening. The music department was honored in Rochester, New York for their award with Charisma. And then I wanted to also give a shout out to Lindsay Moon. She's a high school history teacher, and she is the advisor for the student ambassadors, and they took a trip down to Wheelock before Thanksgiving, and they're really trying to be role models in the school and engage with younger students to see about getting engaged with we're doing and what it means to, you know, work hard and the 7 habits and all of that. So they actually went down and spent that half day in Wheelock, and talking to Mrs. Moon, she said the high school kids were far more excited than the younger ones, so that was really neat. And to Mimi Joint, high school teacher, math teacher, and her just endless work of finding grants and new ways of doing things and supporting and growing and providing opportunities like you heard. Thank you to our maintenance department who works so hard to plow and is here in the freezing cold and times when we're not, so shout out to them. And some behind the scenes people that you may not be aware of, Angie Wheelock, who oversees our IT department, and Laura Lazarczyk, who's the district office secretary. They work endlessly with the data and the data requirements and the ever-increasing requirements by state ed for more and more and more data, more and more and more reports all the time. So you don't see them, they're quiet and they're in the background, but they really do just a yeoman's task, and I just wanted to highlight and say thank you to them.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. Yeah, it's great that you shout out, give out shout outs and acknowledge staff, and we got a lot of great staff here, and it's good to acknowledge them, recognize them. That's great, thank you. Mr. Forbes, anything else? Ms. Morrison? No? Okay. We anticipate the need to enter into executive session to discuss personnel matters. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor? Ms. Hahn, a second? Second. Mr. Martin, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you all for attending. Drive safe out there. Students, anybody up here can sign your forms. You guys picked the longest meeting of the year.